One actor got a real New York hack license and drove a cab to prepare. One child star's role would later push a stranger to attack a sitting president. And the man who wrote that haunting score died hours after finishing the final note. 50 years on, where did the cast of Taxi Driver end up? Buckle up. Number 1. Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle. This is the role that turned a gifted young actor into a screen god, the insomniac cabbie crawling through a rotting New York and coming apart at the seams. De Niro went full method. He got a real taxi license and drove the night shift, even while flying back and forth from Italy, where he was shooting another film at the same time. Then he stood in front of a mirror and improvised the line that outlived the whole movie. "You talking to me?" Later ranked by the AFI among the greatest pieces of dialogue ever filmed. He was just 32 on set. Today he is 82, turning 83 in August 2026, and nowhere near finished. His net worth sits near $500 million, fueled largely by his Nobu empire, and he just landed his first leading TV role as a US president in Netflix's Zero Day. Here is the wild part. He met his first wife, Diane Abbott, on this very set and married her the year the film hit theaters. He now has 7 children, including daughter Gia, born in 2023 when he was 79. He even received an honorary Palme d'Or at Cannes in 2025 and would later win a second Oscar for Raging Bull and found the Tribeca Film Festival. 50 years on, still the gold standard. Number 2. Jodie Foster as Iris. She was 12 years old, 12, and she walked onto a set with Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel and refused to be swallowed by them. Foster played Iris, a runaway teenager trapped under the control of a pimp, and her instinct for the part was so far beyond her age that she earned an Oscar nomination at just 13. The protections around her were extraordinary. She had to pass a psychiatric evaluation to be cleared, and her own older sister stepped in as a double for the film's grown moments. Then came the darkest chapter in the movie's legacy. A man named John Hinckley Jr. watched the film obsessively, fixated on Foster, and in 1981 he wounded President Ronald Reagan in a deranged bid to get her attention. She carried that shadow with remarkable grace, kept her life fiercely private, and graduated from Yale. She turned 63 in November 2025, won 2 Academy Awards in the years after this, for The Accused and The Silence of the Lambs, and took home a 2025 Golden Globe for True Detective Night Country. She came out publicly in 2013, married Alexandra Hedison in 2014, and raised 2 sons. She also became a deeply respected director. Her newest film, the French language A Private Life, arrived in early 2026. No one in this cast built a more accomplished life. Number 3. Sybil Shepherd as Betsy. She was the dream, the cool blonde campaign worker Travis decides is the one pure thing left in his filthy city. The angel walking through hell in a white dress. Shepherd floated through her scenes with an untouchable glow, and that was the point. A former teen beauty queen turned cover model, she was plucked from obscurity by director Peter Bogdanovich for The Last Picture Show. And like the rest of the cast, she took a pay cut to get Taxi Driver made. Then she conquered television, winning a Golden Globe as Maddie Hayes opposite Bruce Willis on the hit Moonlighting, then headlining her own sitcom Sybil. Here is the bombshell she later dropped. She claimed her show was killed off after she rejected the advances of powerful CBS chief Les Moonves. She married twice, raised 3 children, and became a tireless supporter of Race to Erase MS, inspired by her daughter Clementine's diagnosis. Today, she is 76 and refreshingly real about it, recently returning with intimate jazz club shows in Los Angeles, where fans praised her for aging naturally instead of chasing the surgeon's knife. She has not ruled out acting again. A true survivor, on her own terms. Number 4. Harvey Keitel as Sport. That long, greasy hair, that silky voice, that quiet, coiled menace. Keitel turned Sport, the pimp who controls Iris, into one of the most unsettling figures in the whole film, and he did it through preparation that bordered on obsessive, reportedly spending hours on the street with a real pimp to soak up the man's rhythm. The slow dance he shares with Foster still makes audiences squirm. Real twist. Keitel was a US Marine before acting, the same background as Travis. He launched his career with Scorsese on the director's first feature, then reunited on Mean Streets. He was even originally cast as the lead in Apocalypse Now, before Coppola replaced him with Martin Sheen. It was Quentin Tarantino who fully resurrected him, in Reservoir Dogs, and then as the unflappable fixer in Pulp Fiction. Add an Oscar nomination for Bugsy, plus the piano and Thelma and Louise, and the man is untouchable. Today he is 87 and still working, recently starring in The Tattooist of Auschwitz. He has been married to Daphne Kastner since 2001, introduced to her by his old friend De Niro. In early 2026, he made a rare appearance to honor his late friend Michael Madsen, a genuine titan of the craft. Number 5. Albert Brooks as Tom. In a film drowning in dread, Brooks is the one breath of pure comedy, the nervy campaign worker who can never quite read the room. And get this, it was his very first movie role. His real name is Albert Einstein, his father was a radio comedian, and his brother was the great Bob Einstein, better known as Super Dave Osborne. He grew up in Beverly Hills, running around with Rob Reiner, pioneered the absurdist short films that ran on early Saturday Night Live, and improvised much of Tom's twitchy humor on the spot. From there, he became a comedy auteur, writing and directing cult favorites like Real Life, Lost in America, and Defending Your Life, earning an Oscar nomination for broadcast news, and voicing Marlin in Finding Nemo for a whole generation of children. He then terrified everyone with a chilling gangster turn in Drive. In 2023, his lifelong friend Rob Reiner directed an affectionate HBO documentary about him, Defending My Life, which racked up 4 Emmy nominations. Today, he is 78 and still busy, recently appearing in Ella McKay, with a TV version of his best-selling novel about America's future long in the works. Quietly, he might be one of the most influential comedic minds in this entire lineup, the man who made fun of comedy itself and changed it forever. Number 6. Peter Boyle as Wizard. He is the philosopher of the cab garage, the older driver who hands Travis a rambling pep talk that lands somewhere between profound and meaningless. And somehow that scene became iconic. Boyle had one of the strangest paths in Hollywood. He spent 3 years as a Christian Brothers monk before turning to acting, broke through as a chilling, violent bigot in the 1970s sleeper Joe, then flipped everything by playing the lovable tap-dancing monster in Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. Wild personal fact, John Lennon served as best man at Boyle's wedding to the Rolling Stone reporter Lorraine Alterman, whom he met while still wearing his monster makeup. A whole new generation later fell for him as the gloriously grumpy Frank Barone on Everybody Loves Raymond, and he won an Emmy for a memorable guest role on The X-Files. He even survived a heart attack on the Raymond set and came right back. Sadly, Boyle passed away on December 12, 2006, at 71, from a combination of myeloma and heart disease, leaving behind his wife and 2 daughters. He would have turned 91 in 2026, a character actor's character actor, mourned by a cast that adored him. Number 7. Leonard Harris as Senator Charles Palantine. He is the polished, charismatic presidential candidate Travis becomes fixated on eliminating, the smiling politician promising to wash the so-called scum off the streets. Here is the secret almost nobody knows. Harris was not even an actor. He was the on-camera arts critic for New York's CBS station through the late 1960s and early 1970s, and Scorsese, who knew him from the city's drama scene, cast him purely for that aristocratic face and confident voice. Before any of that, he had started his career writing obituaries and book reviews for a newspaper. His tense, slippery exchange with Travis in the back of the cab works precisely because Harris plays it so naturally, a real candidate humoring a dangerous stranger. He went on to write 3 published novels, the first earning glowing reviews, served on the Tony Award nominating committee, and was an Army veteran of the Korean War era. He only ever took a small handful of acting jobs, treating each as a curiosity rather than a career. He died on August 28, 2011, at 81, and would have turned 97 in 2026, living proof that Scorsese cast for faces and voices, never for resumes. Number 8. Diane Abbott as the concession girl. A few seconds of screen time and it changed Robert De Niro's entire life. Abbott plays the woman working the ticket booth at the sleazy Times Square cinema, the one who coolly shuts Travis down when he tries to charm her. What happened off-camera is the real story. She and De Niro met on this set, fell for each other, and married in April 1976, the very year the film was released. De Niro adopted her daughter Drina, who grew up to become an actress and humanitarian, and the couple had a son, Raphael, who today is one of the most successful real estate brokers in New York. Abbott was no one-note presence either. She showed off her real singing talent in Scorsese's New York, New York, and played the bartender love interest in The King of Comedy, opposite De Niro again. Fun trivia, she is the cousin of singer Gregory Abbott of Shake You Down fame. The marriage ended amicably in 1988, they remained on good terms, and she quietly retreated into private life. She is now 81. The smallest role in the whole film, and arguably the most life-altering one of all. Number 9. Martin Scorsese, the director who climbed into the back seat. He did not just direct this masterpiece, he stepped in front of the camera for one of the most chilling cameos in movie history. The unhinged passenger who has Travis park outside an apartment and calmly describes the violence he plans to inflict on his unfaithful wife. He actually appears twice, also lurking in the background of Betsy's first scene. The whole project began when Brian De Palma introduced Scorsese to writer Paul Schrader. He pulled it off on a shoestring budget of just $1.9 million, with the entire cast taking pay cuts, and it made back more than 10 times that. To dodge a dreaded X rating, he desaturated the colors of the bloody finale so the carnage looked less vivid, which gives the ending its strange, dreamlike haze. The film won the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 1976. Scorsese nearly destroyed himself during this era, then emerged to become the most influential living American director, finally winning his directing Oscar for The Departed after decades of being passed over, with a fortune now near $200 million. At 83, he refuses to slow down, currently filming projects with Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Dwayne Johnson, and Jonah Hill. A relentless force of nature. Number 10. Victor Argo as Melio. He is the deli owner whose late-night robbery gives Travis his first real taste of violence, and Argo grounds the scene in pure New York grit. Born Victor Jimenez in the Bronx to Puerto Rican parents, he became the ultimate working character actor, and here is the irony that defined his career. He spent decades playing Italian and Irish heavies despite his real heritage. He appeared in 6 different Scorsese films and became unforgettable as the weary cop in King of New York and as the Apostle Peter in The Last Temptation of Christ. Wild early detail, back in 1960s Greenwich Village, he ran with the avant-garde art crowd and even took part in so-called happenings alongside Yoko Ono. And it was there he met a young Harvey Keitel, who would remain his close friend for nearly 40 years. He finally made his Broadway debut in 2003, then died of lung cancer in April 2004 at 69, and in a final, selfless act, he donated his body to a college for medical study. He would have turned 92 in 2026. The kind of actor who made every scene feel more real just by standing in it. Number 11. Joe Spinell as the personnel officer. He gets the film's opening jolt, the gruff cab company boss who grills Travis with that blunt line about why he even wants to hack. Spinell, born Joseph Spagnolo to Italian immigrant parents, was a real cab driver and store clerk before Francis Ford Coppola spotted him for The Godfather. He holds an astonishing record. He appeared in 4 consecutive Best Picture nominees: The Godfather Part 2, Rocky, and Taxi Driver. And only Taxi Driver failed to win the prize. He was the menacing loan shark Gazzo in the first 2 Rocky films and worked with William Friedkin on Sorcerer, then became a full-blown cult horror icon, co-writing and starring in the notorious shocker Maniac. That film was so graphic it was branded a video nasty and effectively banned in Britain, yet a devoted cult still treats it as a grimy masterpiece. Bizarre bonus: his cousin is NFL coach Steve Spagnuolo. Spinell was lined up to return for The Godfather Part 3, but he died first, in 1989 at only 52, his sudden passing still surrounded by mystery. He would have turned 90 in 2026. A character actor legend hiding inside a single unforgettable scene. Number 12. Stephen Prince as Easy Andy. 4 minutes on screen, and he calmly steals the entire movie out from under Robert De Niro. Prince plays the slick, traveling gun dealer who flips open a suitcase of pistols for Travis, rattling off his pitch, then casually offering to throw in drugs and a Cadillac on the side. The jaw-dropping twist: Prince was not an actor at all. He was Scorsese's own personal assistant and a former road manager for Neil Diamond. Scorsese was so hypnotized by his real-life stories that he built an entire documentary around him in 1978 called American Boy, and 2 of Prince's true tales were later lifted wholesale. His story of reviving an overdose victim with an adrenaline shot straight to the heart became the famous moment in Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, and another of his rambling yarns resurfaced in Richard Linklater's Waking Life. He is even considered a spiritual prototype for Steve Buscemi's whole-screen persona. He stepped away from film, but remained a cult legend, profiled again decades later in the 2009 follow-up American Prince, living proof that sometimes the most unforgettable face in a film never set out to be an actor at all. Number 13. Harry Northup as Doughboy. He is the scheming fellow cabbie who plants a dangerous idea in Travis's head over coffee. Doughboy first tries to sell Travis a piece of movie star Errol Flynn's old bathtub, then casually offers to get him a gun, advice Travis takes with horrifying consequences. Northup is Scorsese royalty, having appeared in every one of the director's first 6 feature films, from Who's That Knocking at My Door through Mean Streets and New York, New York. Incredible behind-the-scenes nugget. While De Niro was off filming another movie in Italy, he studied a tape of Northup reading Travis's lines, so he could nail that flat Midwest accent, which means Travis Bickle's iconic voice owes a real debt to this guy. He also turned up in The Silence of the Lambs, and here's the genuine surprise. He is that rare actor who is also a serious published poet, with 9 collections to his name. His late wife was the acclaimed poet Holly Prado. A Navy veteran and a member of the Academy since 1976, he is now 85. A working artist in the truest sense. Number 14, Bernard Herrmann, the composer. This is the single most haunting fact in the entire film, that smoky, romantic, faintly sinister saxophone theme that defines Travis's Lonely City was the final work of one of the greatest film composers who ever lived. Herrmann scored Citizen Kane, the shrieking strings of Psycho, the dizzying romance of Vertigo, and the eerie theme of The Twilight Zone. He famously fell out with Alfred Hitchcock over a rejected score and moved to London for the rest of his life. It was Brian De Palma who coaxed him back into film. The irony of Taxi Driver, Herrmann openly disliked jazz, yet he delivered a jazz-soaked masterpiece. In failing health, with a heart condition, he flew to Los Angeles in December 1975, recorded for 2 grueling days, returned to his hotel on Christmas Eve, went to sleep, and never woke up, just hours after completing the final note. The film is dedicated to his memory. He earned a posthumous Oscar nomination, his first in 30 years, and won a BAFTA for the score. He would have turned 115 in 2026. No piece of music has ever felt more like a city's beating, broken heart. Number 15. Paul Schrader, the writer. The most unsettling secret of all is that this entire story poured out of a man who was genuinely terrified he was becoming Travis Bickle. Schrader wrote the whole screenplay in a feverish stretch during a deep personal low, adrift and isolated in Los Angeles, fixated on guns and loneliness. His own brutal words, he wrote Taxi Driver because he was afraid of turning into that character. The backstory is even stranger. He was raised by strict Calvinists in Michigan who would not let him watch a single film until he was 17. Then he became a sharp film critic under the wing of the legendary Pauline Kael before writing this. From there, he scripted Raging Bull and The Last Temptation of Christ for Scorsese, and directed his own classics including American Gigolo, The Card Counter, and the devastating First Reformed, which finally earned him a long overdue Oscar nomination. Now 79 and as blunt as ever, he recently made headlines by predicting that AI will be making full-feature films within a couple of years. The tortured soul who turned his own private fear into one of the defining American screenplays ever written. Number 16. Norman Matlock as Charlie T. He says barely 2 words to De Niro, and they turn out to be a chilling prophecy. Charlie T is the fellow cabbie who, after Travis guns down a robber, looks him dead in the eye and calls him killer, then tosses out a casual, "Goodbye, killer." It lands like a curse, because that is exactly what Travis is about to become. This was Matlock's film debut. A Pittsburgh native, he climbed from the Cleveland theater world to Broadway and became one of his generation's finest black character actors. The go-to man for commissioners, judges, and preachers. You have absolutely seen him before without realizing it, as the police commissioner in Ghostbusters, in The Blues Brothers, and in Spike Lee's Clockers, which Scorsese produced. There is a quiet irony in it too, that an actor who spent a lifetime playing symbols of law and order is the one who looks at Travis and names the killer hiding inside him. He died in Philadelphia in 2015 at 90, and would be 101 in 2026. The smallest line in the entire film, and somehow the one that predicts the whole ending. So which Travis Bickle moment still lives rent-free in your head? The mirror speech, the mohawk, or that final stare straight into the camera? Drop it in the comments. And here is the fight I actually want to see down below. Taxi Driver has been blamed for inspiring a real attack on a president, yet it is worshipped as one of the greatest films ever made. So tell me honestly, is this the single greatest American movie ever shot, or the most dangerous one? Do not sit on the fence. Pick a side and defend it.